Hey, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen out there in Woo Nation. Coming at you solo today. It's your guy here, the Roto Superstar himself, Brandon Murkison, with another episode of Woo Fantasy Game Day Live here, getting into week 7 action, getting you ready for kickoff. And of course, as always, coming to you presented by RotoBaller.com and on the RotoBaller YouTube page. RotoBaller is trying to help you win big in 2021 with our RotoBaller NFL Premium Pass. Go and sign up for that today. Exclusive content, amazing content on RotoBaller.com. The season pass gets you access to everything: rankings, premium articles, lineup optimizer, which is one of the best in the industry. Go and sign up for that today. We have exclusive Slack chats on there as well for you to jump into to get lineup questions asked during the week or any other advice. The RotoBaller NFL Premium Pass, sign up for that today. NFL Premium Pass, that's at rotoballer.com/radio. That gets you 50% off signing up for that Premium Pass today. And of course, Woo Fantasy gets you an additional 10% off discount at checkout. So go and sign up today. That's 60%, ladies and gentlemen. Who can't beat that? Go and get that today. But like I mentioned, of course, I am coming to you solo today. Co-host Nick Heffley, of course, is inconspicuous by his absence, but he was, let's face it, a long night for the co-host Nick Heffley. The Braves did advance to the World Series last night, and of course he works for the organization. They were out having a blast after the game last night and celebrating the big win as they move on to the World Series. So shoot your congrats over there to the co-host at the Real FF Goat if you want to give him a shout out and congratulate him on that team advancing. But speaking of advancing, we are doing just that as we get ready to get into week 7 action here. So if you're with us on the RotoBaller YouTube page, or if you're with us here on Twitter at the Roto Superstar Twitter account, or even at the RotoBaller Twitter account as well, shoot us your questions. You got me here for the next little bit. We're gonna take you all the way up till kickoff and get you ready for week 7 NFL action. So obviously you're going to send in all of the questions that you got. You need to send them in my way. And it is week 7. We are in the midst of Bamageddon. That is the coined phrase that we're seeing across the landscape of fantasy football Twitter. So obviously there are a lot of things that are kind of in play today. A lot of you guys are kind of having some difficulty setting those lineups this week with all the bye weeks and the injuries that are really thrust upon your teams. I am, of course, in the mix with you on that. So shoot those questions into us here. We're going to answer those and do my best to get you set up for success here in week 7 with those lineup questions. Shoot them over here to me. We're going to have a little bit of fun. So I want you guys to kind of have a little fun with me today here, riding the solo train as we get ready for kickoff here in week 7 Sunday NFL action. So obviously going back, some of you might be either playing from ahead, some of you might be playing from behind based on how things went with the Thursday night game. We saw obviously D'Ernest Johnson start things off hot for a lot of the fantasy managers out there with that big game on Thursday night against the Denver Broncos. Let's face it, that was kind of one that was, I think a lot of people were kind of thrust in the position to have to start him based on these injuries and the bye week situations like we talked about. But I wasn't expecting, that big of a performance. Denver Broncos front 7, that defense against the run has been one of the better ones in football through the first 6 weeks of the season. So kind of a situation where it was, you were kind of starting him, but you had to kind of, have realistic expectations. And I think what he did, he went way above and beyond. That was a over 20 point fantasy productive night for D'Ernest Johnson. So now you're going to be in kind of a little bit, say you're playing from behind, you're in a little bit of a bind now. You're getting into the Sunday action here. You're going to have to do a lot of tinkering with that lineup. going to have to set the most optimal lineup to try to make up for being behind the 8 ball, so to speak, as things kind of get kicked off and underway here. So obviously, a lot of you guys are going to need some questions answered today, because we're going to need to get the most points possible out of some lineups today. So as I'm kind of getting things set and sent out here across fantasy Twitter here too, let's kind of get it out there too. You know, we've got the actives and inactives that just came out just a few minutes ago. I think I'm actually probably shocked the most about the healthy scratch from Ramondre Stevenson. You know, go based off of last week. Yeah, he did play kind of a minimal amount of snaps, but he was really, really productive for the Patriots. And with today's matchup against the Jets, and a team that does kind of bleed somewhat fantasy points to fantasy running backs, I was kind of shocked by that. I thought that was going to be a situation where we were going to see a lot of Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson today for the Patriots, but it's the Damian Harris show. Damian Harris is a guy that I did kind of point out last night, where I tweeted that I'm heavily invested in Damian Harris and DFS lineups today. So I'm apologizing on the front end, guys, because the curse of Roto Superstar will obviously strike Damian Harris today in terms of points accrued. So that among the actives and inactives, I think that's probably the biggest shock that we saw out there. Antonio Gibson, you know, he being active, we're still continuing to play through that shin injury. A lot of your fantasy doctors that you see online, a lot of those guys are really kind of pointing out that he needs to really give this a rest to get fully healthy. So that's kind of a situation to monitor. I think he probably is going to be used sparingly in that game today. Should be an uptick in usage for J.D. McKissic as well. So if you've got some lineups out there with J.D. McKissic as a possible fill in the flex, I think he's a solid start today in that matchup at Green Bay. Obviously, Washington's probably going to be trailing and playing from behind in that game, which then puts McKissic on the field and passing downs and passing situations. Good opportunity for some PPR output there for J.D. McKissic today. But what are we here for on Sunday mornings? I'm here for Woo Nation. I'm here to help you guys put out those great lineups and achieve success in the world of fantasy football. And that has to come via me helping you with the questions. So obviously we have a few questions already queued up and ready to go. I want to get into a few of those. And like I mentioned, if you're following on the YouTube page, shoot us these questions in here through the YouTube page. But if you're also on Twitter, following us along through the show on the Twitter accounts of Roto Superstar and RotoBaller. Roto Superstar account followers know anytime I'm doing a podcast during the week, shoot us these questions. I'm here for you, here to answer the questions. So send them in to me and I will be able to help you out. I'm going to start the show off here today with Saban's Burner. I apologize to you, sir. We Vols fans had you possibly worried for a little bit first 3 quarters of that game last night, but Alabama football being the way that it is, that depth came through in the end, and you put it on us in the fourth quarter and actually covered the spread. I was shocked by that. I actually did bet the Vols to cover that 25-point spread in that game. Off to a bad start already. But Saban's Burner here wanting to know, start Brandon Cooks or Jalen Waddle. Got Chuba Hubbard at RB2, Josh Jacobs in the flex with Miles, Darrell Williams on the bench. Oh, man, you've got a tough one here to start me off on the show here today there, Saban. But obviously, starting it off at the top. Let me jump into my rankings here real quick. But I'm actually liking, with Devonte Parker being inactive for the Dolphins, I think you're going to see a similar setup to what we saw last week with the Brandon Cooks and Jalen Waddle situation here. I think Waddle's in store for a really decent game. Dude, I've got them right back to back in my rankings too. Brandon Cooks at 18 in that matchup at Arizona, and Jalen Waddle is at 19 in my rankings at home against the Atlanta Falcons. It's a coin toss situation between those two. I don't think you're going to be able to go wrong based on how those two guys perform. But actually, I'm going to go. I'm probably going to make an adjustment myself here. And let's go with Waddle today. Based on the new information that we have, I think we're going to go with Waddle. We're going to ride that hot hand we saw last week. He was targeted a ton with the wide receivers that were missing in that game for the Dolphins. I think you're going to see a similar situation today. Obviously, they're going to abandon the run. It's what the Dolphins do. They just do not run the ball very well at all. It's going to put more onus on Tua to get the ball to the receivers, and that Alabama Crimson Tide connection, I think, is going to come through for you today. So I'm going to get Jalen Waddle in there at your wide receiver. As far as your running backs there, you got Chuba Hubbard at RB2. I'm totally good with that. You got Josh Jacobs in the flex with Miles Sanders. But Darrell Williams on your bench is an absolute no for me. You've got to get him into your lineup, and you've got to play him today. Now, the question is going to be, which running back do you want to play him over? Based on my rankings and where I'm looking at guys that I've got slotted currently, I've got Jacobs at 11 and Miles Sanders at 12. Darrell Williams, by the way, I've got it all the way up to RB3 right now, heading into Sunday. So unfortunately, I think it's going to be a really surprising week for Miles Sanders, but I think that matchup for Josh Jacobs is too good to pass up. So we're going to bench Miles Sanders, Saban, and we want to get Darrell Williams in there in that spot for your flex there. So you're going to go with Josh Jacobs and Darrell Williams. You're going to start Jalen Waddle, Saban. So get those indie guys into your lineup, and let's fire away here in week 7. Hopefully we get some wins. I'm getting out some of these social media, some of the sheriffs here, of course, doing this solo show, having to kind of focus on a lot of this stuff. You usually normally have co-host Nick jumping in to kind of do some talking as I share some of these things out there. So, but that's where we are in the games today, unfortunately. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. Let's jump back into the questions here. We got E-Rock jumps in usually each week, send us in some questions. Want to know if he should start Bateman over Myers or Pittman. Needs the huge upside play in a PPR. Well, I think that's going to really kind of put you in a bind because Pittman, I'm going to be benching Pittman. Anybody involved in that Indianapolis-San Francisco game, I don't know if you've seen the updates, but everything we've seen through Twitter so far has been that situation in San Fran later on the night for the Sunday night game is going to be an absolute monsoon. High winds, rain the entire game. 1 to 2 inches of rain is expected in that game. So I think we're going to avoid pass catchers on either side of the ball in that game between the Colts and the 49ers later on. So Pittman, we're going to slide on off to the side there. So it really kind of comes down to between Bateman or Myers. And if you're looking for the huge upside play, yeah, Myers is going to give you a solid baseline in terms of catches. But is he going to get into the end zone? Yeah, probably not. We've been on Jacoby watch now for it seems like an eternity, and he's just not really kind of provided any upside there. He just gives you that solid floor when it comes to PPR production. So for me, I'm going to go with Rashad Bateman. Going to get him to your lineup. It's week 2 for him starting for the Ravens and getting in that lineup. I think what you're going to see this week is that there's going to be even more of an attempt to kind of get him the ball in open space. We saw last week, he was among the team lead in terms of target share for this passing attack. So I think that's going to something to monitor going forward. I'm going to play Bateman E-Rock today. We're going to get Bateman in there over Myers, higher upside play. I do have Bateman. Of course, I've been a big proponent of him all off season long. I've got him in play in some FanDuel lineups today as well. So I apologize if that kind of puts a little kibosh on him there as well. Getting into the next question here. Of course, as always, like I mentioned, send us those questions in if you're on the YouTube account for RotoBaller, any of the Twitter accounts that have this Woo Fantasy live game day show. Send us in those questions. We've got you covered here. Give me some of your best lineup questions. I'm here to help you guys there. But Emmanuel's needing a question here between Jamal Williams, Mark Ingram, or Kenny Gainwell. Oh man, it's a tough one. I'm gonna lean Jamal Williams just because of the fact that he's kind of remained an integral part in the Detroit Lions running attack, and he's splitting the time with DeAndre Swift. And if you kind of monitor the touches throughout the game and how those have unfolded, it's a lot of Jamal Williams in the first half and into the third quarter as they kind of attempt to run a little bit of game management and kind of get the ball rolling with the running attack. And Jamal Williams really kind of heavily featured there. He's just not going to give you much in terms of PPR value at this point in time because a lot of that is going to DeAndre Swift. But right now, when you're looking at Mark Ingram and Kenny Gainwell, again, Kenny Gainwell has really fallen off the last couple of weeks with the Eagles really kind of putting an emphasis on getting Miles Sanders the ball. You've seen his snap percentage go up mightily, which has really taken Kenny Gainwell off the field, unfortunately. Then you come to Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram is he's in that three-headed monster of a backfield. He's not going to really kind of see much of a potential in terms of game script coming his way today. They're going to be playing from behind as they play Arizona. And actually, if you want to use the revenge game narrative, today's could possibly be a revenge game for David Johnson in that matchup as he goes back to Arizona to play the Cardinals. So I see Mark Ingram as a guy that's going to be kind of splitting the reps between he and Phillip Lindsay today. David Johnson probably has a little bit more upside there because he's the pass catching back out of that trio. Obviously playing from behind. So, Emmanuel, we're going to get Jamal Williams in there. I think you're going to probably lower expectations for most of those backs. But here it is, like I mentioned at the top of the show. It's Bamageddon. We've got a lot of tough questions when it comes to lineup configuration today. So we've got a lot of situations where you're going to see people that are really kind of in a bind and having to play some of the players like this that are just kind of lower caliber fantasy players in their lineups today, just for the circumstances being the way that they are right now. So getting into, we've got Alex Holman here wanting to know, he's got Julio, Callaway, or AJ Green in his flex position this week. Based on the way my rankings have unfolded this week, my rankings, of course, are on rotoballer.com. So check that out, rotoballer.com. Julio Jones, we did see was active, limited practice most of the week this week with the hamstring. I can't trust it. I know the game plan is going to be the game script for the Titans should be in the favor of getting the ball to the pass catchers, but I cannot trust Julio on kind of that shaky hamstring situation there. But so for me, the decision kind of comes down between Marquez Callaway or AJ Green. I think this is going to be a solid week for Marquez Callaway, actually. They're coming off the bye. They've got Traquan Smith back off of the IR, which is going to give a little bit of more of a breath of fresh air for Callaway on the other side. They're going to have to kind of balance out a lot of defensive alignments, I think, to cover both of those guys, because that's been the downside for Marquez Callaway throughout most of the season, is he's faced a lot of teams' top-tier cornerbacks. I think that's something you're going to see a lot of the coverages balance out a little bit more now with Traquan Smith now active and potentially playing in this game for the Saints. I think it frees up a lot of potential for Callaway. I think out of these three, I think he has the highest upside for this week based on matchups. Callaway's a guy, I've got him in a couple of leagues. I've got him locked into my lineup this week as well. I'm expecting him to get in the end zone personally. Might not be a big day in terms of yardage, but I think that there's going to be a chance that he does get in the end zone based on the matchup, big play potential. I think there's the chance that Callaway has the higher home run threat here between your three you're looking at here in your flex, Alex. So for me, we're going to go with Callaway there. We're going to play Callaway as your flex. shoot him in there here in week 7. We're going to get into some more questions here as well. We got Emilio back again. Usually a weekly guy here into the Woo Fantasy Game Day Live show. We like having these familiar faces coming into the show. We take questions, of course, from anybody. So shoot them in here too. We've got obviously another 25 minutes or so to get these lineups set and ready to go for you guys. So Emilio's need to know Matt Ryan or Joe Burrow today. I'm already starting Mike Davis and Calvin Ridley. So for me, looking at the rankings, I've got these guys really close between the two, but I'm probably leaning Joe Burrow. I've got Joe Burrow at 8 at QB heading into the Sunday games here. Matt Ryan at 11. I do like the matchup for both. Obviously, the Dolphins secondary is still very, very beat up. There's a chance, getting Calvin Ridley back is going to help Matt Ryan in terms of being able to kind of utilize his weapons throughout all phases of the field. Kyle Pitts coming off that big game in London before the bye. So hopefully that's something to where they're going to right the ship with Kyle Pitts moving forward now. But when it comes down to it, Joe Burrow's just been captain consistency throughout the season this year. I think he's one of the only quarterbacks in the league so far that's thrown for 2 touchdowns each and every week as we've gone through 6 games in the NFL season. So for me, I like that consistency. That matchup between the Bengals and the Ravens should be one that's the ball's going to move up and down the field very frequently. Pace of play is going to be a big, big thing between those two teams. And I like that. It's going to breed more opportunities as opposed to Matt Ryan. And that Falcons-Dolphins game is going to be a little bit more of a slower paced game, limiting a little bit more in terms of opportunities. Joe Burrow is going to be the start for me based on that, because I think there's a little bit more of a higher scoring potential game here between the Bengals and the Ravens. So for me, I like Joe Burrow there, Emilio. We want to get Joe Burrow in over Matt Ryan this week. So plug him in. We should see solid days out of either one of those two guys, but I do like Burrow a little bit more. So get him into your lineup there, Emilio. Jumping into the next question here, we got Brandon Williams needing to know, he's got, with Damian Williams back, does he drop Herbert to play Freeman versus Cincinnati, Carter at New England, Collins versus New Orleans, Miles Sanders at Las Vegas, or Gaskin at Atlanta PPR? Obviously, I'm going to play. Between the guys that you're looking at here, I'm playing Miles Sanders at Las Vegas. Previously mentioned that with another question that we had on there. I like that matchup for Miles Sanders. The usage has kind of been coming up the last couple of weeks, and I think the game plan is going to center more along towards Miles Sanders having more opportunities to provide some fantasy production this week. Now, would I drop Khalil Herbert? I wouldn't drop Khalil Herbert just yet. I might hold on to him because there's a good chance that he still has a chance to be productive over the course of the next couple of weeks. He's not going to be today. That matchup against Tampa Bay, the Bucs front, that run defense for the Buccaneers, obviously one that's been historically great. We've seen the numbers that they've really kind of held running backs to through the first 6 weeks of the season. So if you're expecting anything out of Khalil Herbert today, I don't know what to tell you there. He's going to be in store for a rather subpar performance against that front. So for me, yeah, I'm playing Miles Sanders. So Brandon, if that's your question there, if you needed to drop Herbert to play one of these, I'm not sure where you kind of have yourself locked into that position there, but I'm obviously going to, if it means I'm having to drop Khalil Herbert to play Miles Sanders, then yes, that's what I'm doing. But I'm going to play Miles Sanders over your other options there. Collins, we don't really know exactly what to expect there with that matchup. He's banged up going in that Monday night affair. You can't trust it just yet. And plus, New Orleans defense is really good. Carter, I think, has a chance to have a sneaky good game today in terms of PPR appeal. Passes called out of the backfield, I think, is going to be something key for Michael Carter today in that matchup against the Patriots. And Freeman, I think, is kind of a guy should just put together kind of a ho-hum, nice, productive day. But in terms of upside, yeah, I've got to go with Miles Sanders. I think the recipe is there for Miles Sanders to put together a very solid day against that Las Vegas Raiders run defense, which has really not been too good as we've seen throughout the season here. Las Vegas, they've actually been one of the worst in terms of points allowed to the running backs over the last couple of weeks. So keep in mind that. So I'm going to play Miles Sanders today there, Brandon. So plug him and play him there. Getting to staying with the questions here. We've got Dan Cook wanting to know, which sounds oddly close to Dane Cook, and who was a great comedian before all the ill things happened to him in the comedy realm. So Dan Cook needing to know Devonte Freeman or Khalil Herbert. I think I kind of answered that with the previous question. I'm going to be benching Khalil Herbert where possible today, but unless you're in a bind and you just need the body in that position, I think Devonte Freeman with Latavius Murray out, Lev Bell is going to be the backup, which is just, we haven't seen a lot out of him. It seems like the Ravens coaching staff, based on how they utilized Devonte Freeman last week, I think they like what they've got with him. Maybe we as fantasy football people don't like this because of the confusing nature of the Ravens backfield. You're going to see Tyson Williams active again today. Who knows what's going to happen with that situation, how he filters in. But I think you're going to see a lot of Devonte Freeman today in that matchup. So I expect to have a nice solid RB2 potential type day from Devonte Freeman. So you're going to get him in and you're going to play Devonte Freeman there, Dan Cook. Obvious play for me there between your options there. Like I mentioned, it's just we're kind of shy away from Khalil Herbert where possible today, based on that matchup there. Garrett W jumping in, wanting to know what we all want to know. What's the latest with Darren Waller? I mean, let's point blank face it. You cannot be excited with a guy that comes down with a downgrade to questionable on a Saturday. It's never a good indication. That's really kind of raised the eyebrow of a lot of people that are Darren Waller managers right now. It's going to leave you with that uneasy feeling. For me, a lot of the stuff that I've seen early on this morning is that the team has said that Darren Waller says he doesn't feel great, and that this is one of the truest game time decisions that you're going to see out there. And I think you're going to see it kind of play out similar to how we saw Sterling Shepard in his pregame warmups before he was declared inactive. He got out there, he tested it for all of about 5 to 10 minutes, did not look good, and then went back inside. I think that's going to be something we'll probably see out of Darren Waller too. Probably going to try to test it. Probably is not going to look good, and I think he's going to be inactive. My rankings that I've put out on RotoBaller.com have actually indicated that too. I've dropped him down very, very far in my rankings. I'm not anticipating him to play. So for Garrett, what that's probably going to do for you is going to put you in a bind. And unless you've got a guy that's going to be playing on the early slate, I think you're going to pivot to a guy that's on the early slate. But if you're in a position where Darren Waller's your only tight end, it's time to make your secondary action move here. You've got to make a move to get another tight end ready to go in that late slate. I mean, you're going to have guys that are going to be out there like a Cole Kmet, Ross Dwelly from the 49ers. He's going to be a potential out there. I think the one of the smarter moves to pull would be to go and grab someone kind of like you can get Foster Moreau for even Foster Moreau is going to have some appeal when it comes to that situation there as well. But another guy that's kind of keep in mind in that same game with the Cole Kmet and the Bucks Bears, OJ Howard might be a guy that you might see out there on the wire. Rob Gronkowski, of course, being out again this week. OJ Howard might be a guy that you can plug and play. Bears defense is really, really good against opposing tight ends. So it would be a situation where you shouldn't kind of expect too much. But at this point in time, Garrett, if you're in a bind and you need a body, those are kind of be your contingency plans, so to speak, is what we're looking at here. We want to get We want to get a body ready to go in case Darren Waller is not playing. And like I said, I don't expect him to. So that's how we're looking at it there. So, see, bars in the tuck. We got a question coming in here too. So, he traded Case Keenum, Dearness, Tim Patrick, and Renfro for Calvin Ridley and Ricky Seals-Jones. Amazing that you could even pull off that deal. That you have a very disgruntled Calvin Ridley owner that was ready to cut ties there. I'm assuming they're thinking Dearness Johnson is going to be that version of Dearness Johnson, week in and week out. I just don't see that being the case once Nick Chubb is back, potentially here in week 8. So full PPR. Needs to pick a tight end, Ricky Seals-Jones or new toy. I like how you phrase that, Zach Ertz for the Arizona Cardinals today. That one is like many others questions that I've had so far today. I've got them side by side in rankings that I'm looking at currently right now. I've got Ricky Seals-Jones at tight end 10 heading into the week. And I've got Zach Ertz sitting at tight end 11, your true coin toss situation here. But based on usage that I saw last week, I do like Ricky Seals-Jones. I think that game plan is going to be more towards Ricky Seals-Jones' favor. They're going to be playing from behind as they're playing the Green Bay Packers this week. They're going to need to do something to get the ball down the field. Terry McLaurin obviously is going to be the big beneficiary there because the Packers secondary is beat up and battered currently. So I'm expecting to see a solid day from Terry McLaurin. But I think from a secondary standpoint, I think you're going to see RSJ, as you put it. I think he's going to put forth a solid day as well. Probably a nice solid 5-catch type day, 5 for 50, 5 for 60 type yards, possibly getting into the end zone. He's going to put up tight end 1 numbers, I think, when it's all said and done today. So I think I'm going to be playing Ricky Seals-Jones in your lineup there, bars. So plug them and play them. That's going to be RSJ in there for you. Brandon jumping back in here. Got another question here. You got Sterling Shepard out. Do you want to play Pettis, Marquez, Hardman at Tennessee, Darrell Mooney at Tampa, or Amon-Ra St. Brown? Let's look at these rankings here real quick. Brandon, jump in here real quick. I'm not going to play Pettis. I think Darius Slayton is active, so I think you're going to see Darius Slayton be the wide receiver 1 for the team today. So we're not really expecting not a ton out of Dante Pettis today, so I'm going to slide him off there. So we're looking here between your other options. And I've got, we got Callaway, Mecole Hardman. Man, I've got Hardman at 30. I've got Callaway at 31. And then Darnell Mooney, I've got all the way up to wide receiver 25. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think it's down to 39. So based on rankings, we've got Darnell Mooney ranked a little bit higher. I think this might be a week where we're kind of seeing things start to turn around a little bit for the Bears passing attack. That Tampa Bay secondary, of course, is beat up. Antoine Winfield is going to make his way back today, I believe. So you're going to probably see him on Allen Robinson most of that game, I would expect. So it might leave Darnell Mooney a little bit more open. Really, I think between what we're looking at here, it just depends on what you're looking for from your lineup. I preached it at the top of the show. You might be in a bind and you might want to swing for the fences at this point in time, and you need the home run threat type of guy. And if that's the case, based on the matchup, I'm going to go with Mecole Hardman. So if you're looking for kind of a swing for the fences type play, Brandon, I'm going to probably play Mecole Hardman. You're seeing a Titans secondary 28th, I think 28th ranked in the league in terms of points allowed to fantasy wide receivers, and they're missing 4 of their starting secondary today. And that is an insane thing to think about right now as you're playing the Chiefs passing attack, Brandon. So I think we're gonna go with Hardman there. I like the upside there. I think he's got a chance to probably pop a big play today. I'm expecting it, of course, to be a big Tyreek Hill day too. I think there's a chance there for Hardman to really kind of put forth a solid day against that secondary, because that should be a back and forth affair type of a game. But I really don't. I don't think you can go wrong between either three, between Mooney, Hardman, or Callaway. I think Callaway and Hardman are more of your home run threats. Mooney probably has more of a safer floor field type of a play to him. So for me, I'm gonna play Hardman. I like that. I like the potential there based on that matchup. I think he gets in there. It's Saban jumping back in. Had a heater coming our way. Boy, did we, that Alabama Crimson Tide team. I mean, we cannot catch a break there. But that team really put it on us in the fourth quarter. It was tough to watch. You could really tell the differences between depths of those teams. So it was, getting down, got a few more questions we're getting in here too. And obviously I appreciate the questions. We got a bunch today. I love the fact that you guys are kind of being a little bit more interactive today, getting these questions in here to us. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, I knew you guys had some questions today. It's week 7 by Mageddon. Crap going on all over the place. People getting injured, healthy scratches like a Ramondre Stevenson. There's way too much going on right now. I know a lot of you guys are really kind of sitting on your hands trying to figure out what the heck to do going into week 7. It might be a big make or break week for you guys out there too. Say you're 2-4 and you need a win this week to get back into contention. You gotta kind of do what you can to really get back into the thick of things when it comes to fantasy football, because we're chasing these victories week in and week out, and that's what I'm here to help you guys with each Sunday morning right here on Woo Fantasy Game Day Live. So keep those questions coming in. Glad to help you guys. Kale's wanting to know here, Antonio Gibson or Brandon Ayuk in the flex? I'm going Antonio Gibson. I think that's the obvious one to go with. I think he's going to be limited. That shin is going to be a little bit of a problem. But when it boils down to it, Ayuk not been utilized like we like. Coming off the bye, you would think that there'd be an uptick in terms of targets potentially in that passing attack. Jimmy G coming back healthy again. But let's face it, I mentioned it just a few minutes ago, that weather situation in San Francisco is absolutely going to scare me away from any of the pass catchers on either side of the ball. I think even with Deebo Samuel, I'm kind of shied away from him a little bit right now too, because I just don't know what to expect there in that matchup today. I think that you're going to see a lot. You're gonna see a lot of low volume passing between those two teams. So that's what I'm looking at there. You're going to go with Antonio Gibson. Hopefully he gets into the end zone and kind of gives you something to root for there today. But like I mentioned, I think you're looking at kind of limits with both. But I'm going to take Antonio Gibson there. Kale's, I think, even in limited fashion, that matchup, I think you're going to see enough point totals from him that he's the better play over Brandon Ayuk, obviously. So, not G, want to know how am I feeling about Rashad Bateman? I'm feeling great about Rashad Bateman. Thanks for asking, not G. I think this is kind of a prime week for Rashad Bateman to really kind of kick things into gear. That matchup against the Bengals, I know based on some of the more deep dive statistics, doesn't look too good. Cincinnati's 23rd in the league in points allowed to opposing wide receivers. But I think with this being kind of a interdivisional game, they know what they're getting out of both sides. I think you're going to see Bateman really kind of put together a solid effort today. If he puts more of if he's another guy that's in that 20 to 22% target share for the Ravens pass catchers again today, I think you're looking at a guy that's going to put together that at least flex option type of a play out of Rashad Bateman today. I've got him. I'm playing him in almost all FanDuel lineups today based on price point. Gave me some roster flexibility by getting him in my wide receiver 3. So I'm expecting a decent day out of Rashad Bateman. He's your classic home run play. I think the defense alignment is really going to be focused more on Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews through the middle. you're going to see a lot of single coverage for Rashad Bateman. That's going to allow Lamar Jackson to kind of really hit him in stride, find those open spots in a zone, perhaps. Rashad Bateman, I think, is going to have a solid day today. So, not G. I'm feeling pretty good about Rashad Bateman. So, Bars wanting to jump in. Got another question here. Full point PPR. T. Higgins stack with Burrow or go with Bateman. I think I'm going to go with T. Higgins there. He's starting to kind of round into shape a little bit, getting healthy. You know, he did miss some time with the injury earlier on in the season, and I think you're going to see him kind of put more forth a solid day today. Kind of what I mentioned with Rashad Bateman and Marquise Brown. You're going to see a lot of the attention put on Marquise Brown from a secondary coverage situation. Teams are really going to start to kind of look at Jamar Chase that way too, where they're going to have to really put more double coverage on him, put a safety over the top, and kind of really limit what Jamar Chase can do. Frees up T. Higgins in that point. So you're looking at a guy with Burrow, like I mentioned earlier, 2 touchdowns every week throughout the season so far through 6 games. He keeps that up today. I think you're going to see T. Higgins being one of those guys that can potentially get one of those touchdowns in that game today. So I like T. Higgins a little bit more than Bateman this week in the game there. Scooby Taylor coming in wanting to know, oh my goodness, here we are. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. It is week 7 of Bomageddon, and this is what a lot of fantasy managers are facing today. Mark Ingram or Brandon Ayuk. I'm going to go with Mark Ingram and hope for the usage to be there and hope that he can find the end zone in that game against Arizona. Scooby, I'm not ready to play Ayuk, even if it was in a situation where the weather was good. I'm still not fully trusting Ayuk yet. He's kind of got me in that. He's in that tier of guys that I like to point out as the show me players in fantasy football right now. He's kind of lost our trust, and we're not ready to really plug him in the lineups and play him based on usage up until this point. So by process of elimination, I'm going to go with Mark Ingram in that situation. And like I said, you're going to have to hope that usage is going to be there and that he can get into the end zone. So that's what I'm looking at there, Scooby. Mark Ingram, I'm not feeling good about either option, but I'm going to lean more towards Ingram there out of the 2. So John Michael wanting to know, Slayton, Robbie Anderson, or Bateman for the wide receiver 3. I'm going Robbie Anderson all day today. You've seen he's got 29 targets over the last 3 games. The workload and the receptions are starting to come along. Started off very, very slow the first couple weeks of the season. Things are starting to kind of right itself at this point in time now, too. Now, Sam Darnold has been somewhat inconsistent each of the last 2 games. That's something to keep an eye on. But I think I like Robbie Anderson in that game going back to New York, not playing the Jets, of course, but back to New York, playing the Giants today. The secondary has been one that you can really kind of take hold of and really attack from a fantasy points perspective. I like Robbie Anderson today. He puts together another 8 to 10 target type day. I think you're looking at something in the neighborhood of 75 to 85 in terms of yardage today and a possibility to get into the end zone. So I like Robbie Anderson as a wide receiver 3, John. I've trusted a little bit more. So we're going to go with Robbie Anderson there. Jumping in here, guys. Extra point wanting to know Darnold or Tua. And I'm going to go with Tua there. I think all indications are we saw last week against the Jaguars. He put together a solid game last week, and I think he's going to have a chance to do that again today against the Atlanta Falcons team. The defense is just, they've had their moments. They've played some strong defense up until this point in the year, but what I'm expecting to see is a back and forth type of point type situation. I think Tua is going to have to get it done because that running game, let's face it, is not going to get it done. So I like Tua here today between he and Darnold, like I just mentioned with Robbie Anderson. Darnold's been a little bit more inconsistent the last couple of games. So I like the upside of Tua in the matchup that he has there too. So plug in Tua there, extra point. Hopefully that's helping you out there and get your lineup set up and ready to go. Of course, like I mentioned, Loving the questions coming in today. While you're at it, if you're on the YouTube page, definitely shoot us a thumbs up and subscribe to the RotoBaller YouTube page. We would absolutely love for you to do that. And if you're not following me at Roto Superstar on Twitter, head on over there, hit that follow button, and be that way I can interact with you on a weekly basis. Let's help you guys get these lineups set and ready to go here in week 7. We're getting into these last 10 minutes or so. Still got plenty of questions kind of rolling in here. And like I mentioned, loving the interaction with you guys today. They're out there in Woo Nation. That's what I'm here for, is to help you guys out. So Slayton or Smith here today. And KLBK, I need a little bit more clarification there. So if you can jump back in real quick, let me know what Smith you're talking about. We have several Smiths out there when it comes to player usage. Give me a little bit more clarification on the player that you're needing to talk about here, and also PPR too. I'm gonna assume, looking at it, I mean, you could be Devonte Smith, you could be Traquan Smith, because based on where you are with Slayton, I could see it being Traquan Smith with injuries and whatnot. So yeah, jumping in, there you go. I appreciate that, KLBK. Devonte Smith is the question here, between he or Darius Slayton. I'm going to go with Devonte Smith between those two. That's going to be a situation. Philadelphia out there playing the Raiders. I think you're going to see a lot of it go through Dallas Goedert in terms of the passing volume today. It should be a big game, big week for Dallas Goedert against the Raiders defense. But when it comes down to it, off of that, Devontae's the secondary option. And we've seen he's kind of been somewhat quiet the last couple of games. I think this is a good bounce back week for him. We mentioned Darius Slayton's kind of a situation where he's the de facto wide receiver 1 for the Giants this week. But I don't think you're going to be able to count on any Giants receiver this week. I think you're going to see that really kind of mixed around pass attack today. I don't think you're going to see really one guy stand out over the other. Slayton obviously is a guy that can always surprise you and bring home a touchdown catch when you're not expecting it. Let's face it, we see it week in and week out when we're talking about it on fantasy Twitter during the games on Sunday afternoons. We always say we're sick of this. Darius Slayton is a prime candidate. He's a guy that scores and you're just going, God bless, I'm sick of this. But I like the talent more of Devonte Smith, and that's usually when my starting lineup decisions are based on what talent do I trust a little bit more. And for me, I'm going to go with Devonte Smith KL. Let's get him in there. Devonte Smith in a game, I think he should perform rather well. So I think that'll be what we want to go with there. Devonte Smith KL. So plug him into your lineup and get him ready to go. Brandon jumping back in here. We got Julio, Bateman, or Myers. I think we talked about that a little bit ago. I like Bateman. Julio is a really wild card here. Myers is a good floor play, but if you're swinging for the fences, I like Bateman here. So for me, yeah, I think I'm going to go with Bateman based on potential here. Julio is a wild card. So I think that's going to be a situation. You can coin flip it between Julio or Bateman, but I like Bateman a little bit more. I'm not sure if I'm ready to trust Julio in his banged up hamstring. He could tweak that in the first quarter and be gone for the rest of the game. So for me, I'm going to go with Bateman because I do trust that he's going to be in there the entire game and has more of the touchdown upside over Jacoby Myers. So we're going to go with Bateman there. Colton Cash needing to know Michael Pittman or Corey Davis. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, Colton, I don't like the pass catchers that are involved in that game in San Francisco tonight. So by default, I'm going with Corey Davis, but I absolutely hate the Corey Davis matchup against New England today. I'm not expecting the Jets to really get much done in New England against that defense. It's probably going to be a minimal effort for Zach Wilson in that passing attack. Corey Davis could shock me and get into the end zone, in garbage time when this game is probably somewhat out of reach for the Jets, because I do expect the Patriots to kind of be well ahead by the time this game ends. But I cannot trust Pittman to play in that monsoon that is expected in San Francisco tonight. I'm going to play it safe there. So I'm going to go Corey Davis. You're probably looking at kind of like a 3 to 4 catch type game out of Corey Davis. If he gets into the end zone, that's cherry on. That's icing on top of the cake, so to speak. So I don't think you can trust Pittman as things stand right now, based on the weather, everything that I've looked up and I've read. I'm just not ready to jump into it. So let's see here. Brendan wanting to know Damian Harris or Miles Sanders this week. Based on the Ramondre Stevenson news and the healthy scratch for Ramondre Stevenson, Brendan, I think you're going to go Damian Harris. I think you're looking at a large workload out of Damian Harris today, and the Jets give up a ton of points to fantasy running backs. So Brendan, boom, Damian Harris into your lineup. Play that one. That's a quick and easy one there for me. John Sav, play Devonte Smith. Depends on your options. Let's be honest about it. It depends on what options you have there. I've got Devonte Smith right now. I've got him ranked as a kind of a low end wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3 this week, and I think you're going to go with. I think you can play Devonte Smith based on what your options are. Let's face it, it's week 7. Buys and injuries are hitting hard. You're probably in a position where you need to play Devonte Smith this week based on that. Brandon Williams. Hey, there's 2 Brandon Williams in here. Oddly enough, that is, you don't see that every day, but Brandon, your host is Brandon. So we've got 3 Brandons in here. So you got to love that. So Sean Hales need to know, we're getting down here towards the end here, guys. So I'm trying to kind of jump through these here as fast as possible. PPR need flex, T. Higgins, Jamison Crowder, AJ Dillon, Rashad Bateman, or Alex Collins. I'm gonna take a shot here, and we're gonna go AJ Dillon. Based on everything that I'm hearing out of Green Bay, and Coach LaFleur's, love to pull running backs and use the dual threat running back committee. They've even said they want to get more touches to AJ Dillon. I think this is a week where they can do that. Washington's defense has really kind of been soft, a lot more soft than we thought they were going to be entering into the season. And I think you're going to see a situation as you get into the fourth quarter where AJ Dillon can potentially be the hammer that nails the game away for the Packers. I think AJ Dillon has a chance to get into the end zone again, as well in this game today. So I like AJ Dillon there for your flex. I'm usually always going to give more of an edge to a running back in my flex position. So that's what we're going to go with there. Coming down in here, Philip DeSantis wanting to know Darius Slayton, Jamison Crowder, or Ruggs. I'm going to go Henry Ruggs there. A little bit more of a home run threat. Obviously, if Darren Waller is out, that is going to be huge for Ruggs in that matchup. So we're going to go with Ruggs there. Philip, play him. Justin O'Connor want to know A-Rob or Jacoby. I've got them 2 really, really close in rankings right now too, as things currently stand. But I think we're going to go with, if it's a PPR format, I want the safer play with Jacoby Myers. This could be the week that Allen Robinson starts to kind of pan out a little bit based on the matchup. Tampa Bay's secondary is not great. They're going to be playing from behind. They're going to have to throw the ball. But for me, I'm going to go with Jacoby Myers. A little bit more of a safe play between he and A-Rob there. The other Brandon Williams, Herbert or Williams. Let me know there, the Williams. Is this a super flex or what the deal is here with this Herbert or Williams question? Oh no, you're talking about Damian Williams or Khalil Herbert. My bad. Reading in that a little bit too much. I'm gonna go with Damian Williams because all indications are he's gonna start. And like I just mentioned, the matchup is going to be more pass heavy for the Bears offense. Herbert, primarily just a runner for the Bears against that Tampa Bay defense. I don't like it. So I'm going to go with Damian Williams. Hope he gets a few catches out of the backfield. So let's go with that. Got here AJ Green or Elijah Mitchell. Obviously a flex question. We're going to go with Elijah Mitchell out of the flex. So that's what I'm going to lean there. I don't love it. Elijah Mitchell's not been great in terms of points produced since that big touchdown run in week 1. He's missed some time with injury. But obviously, I think the way that things are going to look with that game in San Francisco tonight, there's going to be a lot of running done. So give me Elijah Mitchell there based on how game conditions look currently right now. So, and then we got Colton wanting to know again here. We got Corey Davis or Bateman. I'm gonna go with Bateman there. I like Bateman a little bit better there. If there's going to be a guy that I think has the slightest more upside than Corey Davis, I'm going to play him over Corey Davis this week based on Davis's matchup with the Patriots. So that's what I'm going to go with there, Corey. So we're going to get Bateman in over Davis. Last question I got in here. We've got David MLG wanting to know half-point PPR, Henry or Ertz. Kind of like what we've been doing, Dawson Knox there, David. We've been riding that wave, and Henry is a guy that's been getting in the end zone every week consistently the last 3 games. So give me Hunter Henry. I think he's going to be the guy that's going to get you in there into the end zone yet again today. We're going to play Hunter Henry. And then he wanting to know as well, Darnold or Tannehill. David, we're going to play Tannehill today. Back and forth game with Kansas City. I think you're going to see Tannehill have a solid game in that matchup and a back and forth affair. So, David, we want to play Ryan Tannehill today over Darnold. And shoot me the thanks there. No, thank you, man. Appreciate you guys jumping in here today. As always, like I mentioned, I love having Woo Nation participate here in Woo Fantasy Game Day Live. We're just a couple minutes away from kickoff, so love the interaction today, guys. It's probably been the most that we've had over the last few weeks. Let's keep this train rolling. Hopefully should be coming at you with another Woo Fantasy podcast. I'm going to try to shoot for Tuesday this week to do a waiver wire episode, to do a rankings episode this week. So if you've not caught the podcast lately, I'm going to try to jump in there and do one this upcoming week. So follow us over there at Woo_Fantasy if you're not done already. Like we mentioned, give us a thumbs up over here on the YouTube page, RotoBaller.com. Go and follow us there, RotoBaller.com/radio. Get you the NFL Premium Pass 50% off. Woo Fantasy promo code gets you that additional 10. Go sign up today. Appreciate all you guys. Let's go out there, go out to get these victories, and let's get past week 7 and buy Mageddon. And hopefully we're helping everybody get these wins today. Good luck to everybody out there today, and thanks for joining us on another episode of Woo Fantasy. Woo!